Verse 7. But the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew exceedingly strong, so the land was filled with them. So although they died, and most likely these stories were written down because of Joseph, understandably, and they were kept most likely there in the annals of the pharaohs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would have. How else? So these people with that big fools, they wrote down stuff. Okay, yes, it was not easy. It wasn't like today where you can speak into a phone and kind of get your voice and write it down, right? You can listen to this video. The subtitles might be underneath it, etc., right? So yeah, sure, it was more difficult, but still, I think sometimes we tend to think of them as more fools. They were just giving things through an oral way. Yes, sure, that was their most important way of transferring information or keeping information alive, right? But they had writing as well. Okay, even if it's hieroglyphics. Okay, there's some, like, I mean, the Chinese or the Japanese, they have writing, but it's for non-readers, non-speakers. I mean, it's super difficult to understand. Okay, so yeah, right, and so all those people who could orally pass information through on the first person level, they were gone. Right, sure, the information was passed still over through the generations orally, right? The one child, I remember just before my grandfather died, I didn't think he knew it or whatever, and he just sat me down and he told me the whole kind of family history. Maybe I should have taped or recorded it that day, or maybe remembered, because I'm so bad with names, I just forget everything. But I mean, I kind of remember this, and then after that I went back to Russia and I came back, and I mean, in that time he died, right? So I think that's one time he really spoke with me at such a level. But anyhow, and yeah, orally. But they were different, right? Because this is a total different kind of environment and a culture. And anyhow, so, but even though that, they died out, that didn't mean, okay, now the people as a nation died out. No, actually what happened is they grew exponentially. They multiplied and they grew exceedingly. Okay, now, the land was filled with them. Okay, so, oh man, there's a lot of things here to unpack in a certain sense. Because what does all of this mean? If we're going to look in a timeline, now I hold to the fact that the 400 years under Egyptians started with Isaac and Ishmael, right? And the son of an Egyptian woman. I think it just fits the timeline better and makes more sense for the whole story. Then they were not that long in Egypt per se, right? And as slaves, well, most likely not even, maybe around 70 years, kind of like the normal length of, like in exile 70 years or whatever, right? That kind of idea, most likely. And no, I don't want to downplay the fact that they were slaves. They were enslaved. Okay, that's just that. But I just want to say they were not there for 400 years slaves, right? And people. I know. I mean, it's controversial because of the whole the list, the genealogy, because the genealogy is too short if they were there for 400 years. I mean, totally way too short if they were for 400 years. Except if the people lived to 300 years each, kind of idea. Then maybe it would fit. But I know they explain it in the sense that they didn't write down all the names, right? Just the important persons. But I mean, in this case with Moses, I don't think that you might make a point with that for up to Noah, and maybe even a bit after that. But here with this, they would have known, okay, my grandfather's, I mean, I know my grandfather's name, I know my great-grandfather's name, and a few generations. I have it written down, right? I mean, it's like as if I don't know that. Now, if there was some in my line that were omitted, then I will know that. Okay, and Moses here telling the people at that stage in the desert, right, these are your descendants, these are the people. I mean, like, they would have just sat down and said, no, wait, just wait a little bit. There's this person there as well, and you left that one out, and you left that one. I mean, what is going on here? Kind of idea, okay? Now, I mean, it is possible that they all were kind of on it in the sense of, okay, this is just the way we do. We will just count those people, the rest will be. But I don't think so. I think that it's two at that stage happening and writing down, so there's not going to be an omission of names. And for not being omission of names, and ultimately, yes, they were there not that long. And then this we're speaking about, they grew fruitful and multiplied and filled the land. Well, then as well shows how great a miracle this is, right? A huge miracle for them to go from 70 in maybe 200 years time to a couple of million. Okay, again, I know they say that million or whatever, the counting was done in a different way. It's a multiplication of numbers, and they come up with all different theories, etc., etc. I'll take the Bible kind of at face value, therefore take this as a huge miracle. Now they say that people can't grow that fast. Just last night saw on the timeline a news article about Japan that they lost 900,000 people last year in 1 year. Right? In other words, more than 900,000 more deaths than births in Japan. Now they have a huge problem there. It's not new. This has been happening for the last couple of years already, but this is now the biggest. Nearly 1 million people, Japanese, less on this planet than there was a year ago, which is, I think, technologically wise, pretty sad. So okay, now, you can say from 140 million to, it's not a percentage. But this is not about this. This is about births, right? So, so if you look at the amount of people on this planet in the 1900s and the amount of people on this planet now, within 100 years, then we have more than double. I mean, I can't like 1 billion or something 100 years ago, and we are at 8 billion now. It's like this, pew, going up. Right? It's like this, how the numbers. So don't quote me on numbers now here, because I just know it's exponentially. I remember the graph, right? And it's in 100 years on this planet. Okay, so it's like, I think, even for our people, a couple of tens of thousands, and now we're a couple of million within 100 years. So, and now I know they will say, but babies don't die in childbirth anymore. That is one of the most important reasons why for this exponential growth. But here, actually, in this book or in this chapter, we see how they say the Hebrew women strong, and they couldn't even keep. So seemingly, they were pretty good at giving birth at that stage, at least, and they were living in a quite okay place, environment, etc. Right? So seemingly, the childbirth rate, at least, wasn't that bad. Okay, so it is explainable, this exponential growth. So, but still, it will be a miracle. So the fruitful and multiply within, say, less than 200 years to grow into this, or about 200 years to grow into a couple of. It's possible, right? It happened. We have proof of this just in the last 100 years, all over the world. And but still, that is a miracle, right? And that's like because God was with them. Although all these people died, they were but in numbers and multiplied. So they multiplied, but they're still all in Egypt, not in the promised land. So now they have like the sand of the sea, right? It's like standing here on the beach, and you can't count the sand here on all the beaches in the world. It's impossible. And right, so this is now what God promised to Abraham. This is now where they are. There's another promise God made, and that they will leave the country and they will go back to their own land ultimately, and that still needs to be fulfilled. So one part is done. What will happen with the other part? Okay, so just show you a little bit more. Get to the sea here, right? So on that side, see the beach. It's low tide at the moment here. Okay, so this is not God pulling the water away and making it possible for me to stand on dry ground, dry sand here. Kind of, I can walk through where last night I would have been underwater. So it's not the high tide, low tide. Okay, these guys knew when it's low tide and when it's high tide. In that case, and I'm running things a bit ahead now. But while I'm at the sea, I don't know if I'll be on the beach when I get to that chapter. Most likely not, because of this. Back to Myanmar, and I don't think it will be possible to go to the beach there because of the situation, the war situation. But anyhow, so yeah, they would have known low tide, high tide, and it stated there they went and walked on dry ground. Now, yes, I can walk here mostly on dry ground at this present stage, but there's no water on that side, right? There's just water on that side. So, okay, so yeah, just enjoy the view.